Well, first of all, thanks very much, and I'm delighted to be able to speak here. I speak in a lot of places. Hopefully I'll get as good a reception here today. So my name is Patrick Murphy. I'm farming and fishing since I was 8 years of age, because we come from a small island community called Hare Island on the southwest coast of Ireland. And I'm now living on the farm. We built a house on the farm, and my father passed, so I've inherited the farm, so soon to get into the farming as well as fish farming. We do aquaculture and we fish mussels, and we do a bit of fishing. So my role went from fishing due to health concerns and everything else, and as a joke a man rang me and he said I should apply for the job of the CEO of the Irish South and West, and I thought he was off his head. So when I looked at the job description, I was not qualified. So I rang up anyway. So I said to the lady that interviewed me on the phone, a secretary inside the office, Carmen is her name, I told her about the different things that I had to do as a private citizen, fighting for peers, fighting for rights for fishermen and farming since I was 21 years of age. We actually got a pier built on the strand so that we could develop our industry in Roaring Water Bay. So I had a small bit of knowledge of what you had to do. Funny enough, I was actually in an interview with Vincent Browne when the 2011 elections. I was asked to go there by a politician to speak on his behalf. I didn't really speak on his behalf, but I told him what the problems were, and Vincent Browne gave me the mic for a second time, and the fishermen seen me. That's why I'm hired inside the Irish South and West. I go to Europe, Verona knows me, we work together representing our different industries. Verona was in the transport, spoke well, very able-bodied lady here, and has stepped up into the political arena. Michael Fitzmaurice, another man that was dragged into politics because he could see what was being eroded in his local communities. I am no different. I have a good job. I don't need to leave my job. I have a farm. I have a good income from that. But I find in this present current political climate, we have to do something. That lady showed, if you don't get up, if you don't fight for what is right in our rural communities, we will see what's happened to me when we were younger. So just to bring people back, in 1980s and the 1990s, we were losing everybody out of our coastal and our villages and our towns. Rural Ireland, it was being decimated. There was 70 lads in my class that I played football with 20 of them. In the following year, 7 stayed around in the local community. We're returning to those days again, even though they say Ireland is fantastic, it's growing, it's full employment. Yet our youth are leaving our coastal communities. They're leaving us in droves because there's no future there, they see no future. I'm going to emphasise that point. We have trawlermen that have boats worth millions, the same as farming. And 5 lads who were trained skippers that were working those boats. They had a meeting on the pier, and 3 of them told their parents they were going back to college because they saw no future in fishing. We've seen what happened with Brexit. 25% of the fish that Ireland had to catch was taken from us and given to the UK in the Brexit negotiations. We raised a stink about it in the Irish South and West. We got 1.2 billion out of a BAR fund of 5 billion. Biggest amount of money this country had ever seen in a project. And if you follow what's going on, you won't see too much of it in the media. That money now is being taken away from you, everyone in the room here, and the fishing communities, and given everywhere else. It's been taken, and they said, you know why? Because the farming community didn't qualify for it. You weren't affected by Brexit. Isn't that some statement? It's the same as the peat bogs. It's the same as our sugar industry. We are being decimated in our rural communities as farming. It's unbelievable what's going on here. So we're talking about what is happening. You're being targeted and blamed as the people that are destroying the planet. Can you imagine putting a picture of a cow in a field, right? And an aeroplane. And they point to the cow in the field as being the polluter, not the aeroplane. What an image. What an image. Jesus Christ. So I wrote a few notes, folks. And the propaganda that's being foisted upon the farming communities and the fishing communities is unbelievable. So just to give you a couple of stats, 400 boats is all we had in our fishing fleet in 2006, 400 boats over 15 metres. So they decided they were too good at their job, so we'll bring in a decommissioning scheme. That was reduced down to around 200 boats. 200 boats, right? So they had another decommissioning scheme and they targeted the smaller boats. and they hit them and took them out. And the latest one now is because of a political decision to give away 25% of Ireland's fish, we'll have another decommissioning scheme. We're going to be down to 140 boats. There is no fishing in certain communities where I grew up, like Baltimore and like Scull. I was coming back from Brussels from one of the meetings, from meeting a German MEP, and they asked me, well, Patrick, you're talking a lot. Give us a map, show us, explain it. That's the map I showed her. See that? An upside down pyramid. Do you know who the dot is? The food producer. Do you see the top here? Price for your product. But every year, there's another line of regulations, more weight, more weight, more weight. And I explained to her, I said, just like that lady said, Caroline, the food producers, without food, what have you? What have you? It's ridiculous. I said, that'll collapse, and this fella will be gone. But everybody there supporting up above him will be gone as well. Do they not see the reality of what's happening around the world? People starving. Do they want to bring that to our own shorelines? Google and them, but what if they pick up and leave? They got a small bit of a shock when there was massive unemployment and they started shelving people because they came out of COVID, so the jobs that they had created now were no longer needed. They gave a very quick and clear message. They downsized overnight. They didn't care about the effects on the communities where those people were living. They saw that as a good thing. Oh, there'll be less demand for housing. This is what's happening, folks. The message that's being driven against people in rural Ireland and in our industries is one of that you're the problem. That you're producing too much food. You're wasting the food. Did you ever hear the likes of it? It's absolutely ridiculous what's happening today. And I commend the likes of Rona, who got into politics, came from a job, because she's seen it had to change. Again, I'll reference Michael Fitzmaurice. And just to let you know, one of the reasons I joined this party, because I believed in the reason why it was started. It was on ideology. It wasn't going to be bullied. You weren't going to follow what you were being told by the big political parties. You had an independent voice and you fought for that. That's why I went to Aontú. I was offered to go to the other political parties, and I said no. I said no, because I'll be swallowed up. Because like the local TD in our area who stood up and absolutely destroyed the government and told them the truth on the information we gave him. And at the end of the speech, you know what he said? I'm not going to vote against the whip. That's what he said. After absolutely destroying the policies of government, he voted. He said, well, I'm not going to go against the whip. So he voted for them anyway and brought in the legislation. This is the madness that we're on. So Aontú voted against the climate action bill. So there's political parties, there are people, they're in the room here today, that will stand up and fight. And that woman said it. One. They started with one. That's what you have to look for here. So you have to get the message out clear. And just, as she said, 50,000 farmers. But how many of our sons and daughters have gone into the cities, become the doctors, the nurses, the guards? They didn't just evaporate. They went into other areas of society. But they started in rural Ireland. So we need to touch with them, just like Joe Biden coming back here, reaching for his roots. We have to get the people of this country to understand it's not just a nice place to visit. It's really important to you that you protect what your infrastructure of your towns and villages and your coastal communities. And we need to go to Europe as well and tell them we are critical for your importance. You cannot be bringing it in from Brazil and then claim, oh, you're creating too much carbon and bringing food from all over the world. Talk about hypocrisy, like. But they have to be called out. Look, I'm not going to stay any longer, lads, but thanks very much and thanks to you.